And Ben, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item of business is citizen comments. Do we have any citizen comments today? Anybody signed in? We have no citizen comments. Part of the agenda is closed. We'll now do the swearing in of officers. Alban, if you'll take care of the swearing in, we'll stand and be sworn.
Okay, Jeff and Charlotte. Charlotte, well, there she is. Hold it. Okay, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I.
I'm kidding.
Okay, we'll start over. I state your name. Do hereby solemnly swear or affirm that I will duly discharge my duties as an officer or director of Fort Worth Transportation Authority,
As an officer or director of Fort Worth Transportation Authority,
doing business as Trinity Metro,
doing business as Trinity Metro,
according to and in compliance with
according to and in compliance with
the laws of the state of Texas
the laws of the state of Texas
and of the United States.
and of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you, one and all. The first item of business now is the approval of the minutes. Has everyone had an opportunity to look at the minutes? I'll entertain a motion for approval of the minutes.
Second.
Motion, and a second for approval. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. We'll go right into information item and reports. Yeah, I'm usually the first one, and there's good news and bad news. Good news, I was really looking forward to this meeting. I'm not sure why. I'm halfway there, I get a flat tire. Met the nicest man you've ever seen between here. He was from Iran, and he was just brilliant. I'm going back this week and shake his hand. So anyway, I got lucky, and someone was very kind. But I do not have a report on the RTC meeting. Then,
If you'd like,
Chad, can you pinch hit something for me? All right.
You didn't pick him up on the way?
He was.
I was already there, sorry. Otherwise, I would have. Bad career move on my end, I think. So just, there were two items, I think, that were of note at the RTC meeting. One was the COVID transit funding round 2, and that RTC approved $2.78 million in surface transportation block grant funds for Trinity Metro to continue the bus stop improvement program that includes the concrete slabs, shelters, lighting, seating, real-time schedule information, and other things that might go on with a bus stop improvement. So that was a unanimous vote and approval by RTC, which was very helpful and appreciative. The other item is a little bit more tangential, but it's something that we need to keep an eye on as dollars flow to the transit authorities in the urbanized area. So with each decennial census every 10 years, the U.S. Census does obviously a count of people. They do that count and then they create and refine urbanized areas. Here in Dallas-Fort Worth, previously we had the Dallas-Fort Worth-Arlington urbanized area, we had a Denton-Louisville urbanized area, and then we had a McKinney urbanized area. What has happened in the last 2020 census, and it takes 3 years now to figure out how many people are in a country as large as ours. We still have the Dallas-Fort Worth-Arlington and the Denton-Louisville, but McKinney has grown to such a large size that it has combined with Frisco. And so what that might do later on is reapportion dollars across the region. And so that hasn't been settled yet. There's been other refinements in the urbanized area as far as boundaries that I'm trying to get a better sense of on the western side of the region, meaning Fort Worth, Tarrant County, Fort Worth, and Parker County, kind of that area. And so once the census provides the smooth area boundary, we'll have a better sense of what those apportionments are. So there's still more to come on this particular item, but I just want to give you a heads up on what that is and what it might do to our funding levels later on. Thanks.
Kelly, you going to visit with us about the mentor program?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to talk about this. We had the mentor program a few years ago, kind of put it on hold when the COVID came, so now we were kind of revamping it, getting it started again, and it's great. I'm glad that I'm able to talk about it. This last session started in September, and it's a 6-month period of time. So we just graduated our first class, and I'm excited because I've been very fortunate of having some really good mentors, which have helped me get to where I am today. So it's really nice as a company to be able to give back. What I'd like to do is go ahead and just introduce our mentees. And if you guys would come up, we'll get a picture. But first one is Sabrina Bethel. She's with our facilities maintenance analyst. Derek Huckabee, senior scheduler. We've got Renee Perez, training supervisor. Bianca Tillis, HR specialist. I don't think she's here. Jennifer James, ops supervisor. Nicole Adams, access supervisor. And then Hassan Salih, he's a mechanic in our service rack. And I'll go ahead and, I was a mentor, Rich was a mentor, Wayne, Anthony Fuller, Jessica Powers, Glenn Miller, and Melissa Chrisman. So if you guys want to come up. Wait just a second. Hassan.
Let's do, this is an important moment. If we could get the board to stand over here, let's come around.
Yes, sir. Everybody come on to the center. School photo time. Tall in the back. That's right. So yeah, you're right. That's there in the back. Pretty spread out here a little bit. Did go into the same time? Yeah. Okay, that's my shower. Right in here.
Want me to behind or in front?
All right, raise it up. Jason. I know, I'm making you nervous. There it is. All right. Thank you. Yes, sir.
That was a great program. My session was supposed to last 30 minutes. It lasted well over an hour. Thank you, Derek. That was fun. Let's move to commuter rail. AJ, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and our board today. Wanted to just give you all a brief update. I'm AJ Argent, Vice President of Rail. You may recall earlier or in our last meeting, I mentioned that we had an outage on the 28th. During that outage, it was a planned 24-hour outage so we could do some vegetation management as well as get in there and do some track maintenance. We run, as you know, 365 days a year, and we have a train out there for all of about 45 minutes every night. So getting that time to make sure we have the good, state of good repair on our track is really important. But on this day, I can tell you that we actually went in and migrated our PTC hosting up to the Kansas City location, so that way it's in the cloud. It's a great thing. Could you bring that presentation up for me, Christine, please? So it's really important because now we're not confined to just right there at the local servers. We have it up in the cloud. However, you may recall on February 1st, we had an outage, and it started probably around 4:30 in the morning. We were up, received a phone call that we were completely down on both TexRail and TRE. We had no network whatsoever. Finally, around 6 o'clock, we were able to drill it down to an issue at the data center in Kansas City. The Spectrum circuit, the fiber, had been cut in a vandalism incident. So we lost everything. And our local servers, of course, now that it's up in the cloud, it's not backed up, so we couldn't use that. We were out for until 11 o'clock, we were able to get it back up and functional. But I can tell you, yes, we were shut down, but our ops team jumped feet first in and helped us out tremendously. While we were trying to get back up and running, the ops team was out there moving passengers. Our marketing team, our communications team was out there communicating. And I can tell you the TRE, TexRail, Wabtec partners, and Herzog partners were diligently working to get this corrected. The reason I bring that up is it's important. So on the first we had an incident, if you go to the next slide, we had planned on yesterday, we'd worked hard the week of the 10th. So we went in yesterday with the plan that we are going to go to a second data center. So not only will we have Kansas City up in the cloud, but we'll also have a new one that we just stood up last night, or I could say at 2:30 this morning over in Carrollton. So now we have the redundancies. We're not 100% bulletproof yet, because you never know, there could be a weird thing where both circuits are cut at both locations and we lose fiber at both of them. So we're working on some additional steps to harden it. But I would also say during this exercise, we really looked at bulletproofing the entire system, and we're looking at TRE as well. And there's some stuff that we need to do. We want to get additional switches at every one of our bungalows. We want to get commercial circuits to help us if we have a fiber cut on our right-of-way, that we have the capability to quickly turn those on automatically and not miss a beat and still be able to move trains. And I can tell you, like I said, yesterday at 2:30 in the morning, Reed's back there, he's got bags under his eyes. He was leading that effort up last night. Gave me a call at 2:30 and told me we were up and running. We were able to initialize PTC, and we did not miss a beat on our trains this morning. So extremely proud of the team, of what they were able to accomplish as TexRail, as a agency, the way they circled us up and protected us and helped us out was truly heartfelt on their side, and it meant the world to us. So thank you, Wayne, Melissa, the entire team that helped us out there. Now we can go to the previous slide. It was long-term parking. Tito asked this question a lot. He's very interested in this, and I can tell you that, as you can see, North Richland Hill Smithfield Station is number one, 210. This is year-to-date, calendar year-to-date. 210 total transactions on an average of 3.5 or 3.6 days per transaction. So we are seeing quite a few people utilize this. I know someone today who is flying out today, and they're over at the TMP park there. It's their first time utilizing it, and they said that this is the way they're going to do it from now on. So get the word out. It is something that's a benefit. When you go to the airport, you pay a tremendous amount of money for overnight parking. We have it for $5 a day, and we'll get you to your plane on time. And the last thing, the last slide, I went a little bit out. We also had an incident on the 13th. So if you recall, I believe it was Thursday, got a call at 3 a.m. Hey, we've got a derailment out there. It's not us, it's Freight Railroad. So on the left, if you look at the middle picture, on the left-hand side, those are flat rail cars. And that is on Fort Worth and Western's main line. And this is right there at Tower 60. It's, I guess I could say Decatur 23rd Street, where it goes across. That is exactly where it was. And as you can see, when they derailed, it caused that utility pole to foul our main line. Instantaneously, the ops team made the decision we were not going to run trains through that area. We did not understand the stability of that pole and what it was going to take to get everything cleared so we could operate again. So we immediately made the call that we would operate between Northside and DFW Airport, and again, call on the ops team to help us out and provide a bus bridge between TMP and Northside. Communications and marketing, again, all over it, helping us get the word out. Deetra and her team were out at stations helping with customer, her envoys. We were fine at 10:20. I was out there on site. At 10:20, around 9 o'clock, I made the decision that once we came out of peak, I was comfortable enough that we were going to start shooting trains through the siding, which if you look at that far right picture, on the right-hand side of those two track inspectors, there's another track there, that's our siding. I made the decision, I felt comfortable. We job briefed with the workers that were there clearing the scene, as well as Fort Worth and Western. We shut down all movement on their side, and we operated 2 trains while they were still clearing it. And finally got it cleared at 3 o'clock, so we were able to run full operations for our first train at 3:20 in the afternoon. So yes, we were down, but we quickly reestablished service. So I was really proud of the team for the way they handled that. As you can imagine, having 2 days like that for a significant amount of time, impacting service, we're not going to cook the books, play games with our on-time performance. It is what it is. I can tell you we're still operating despite those huge outages. We're at 95.7%. So it's going to be a heavy lift to get to 97%, or contractually 97. We won't hit 98% for this month because of those outages. However, we're going to see how close to 98% we can get. But other than that, I will tell you, looking at ridership is increasing. Extremely proud of the team. The month of March, we came in, and Melissa's going to talk a little bit about this. In the month of March, it was our 4th highest revenue month of all time. But what's even more interesting is we had a complete outage for 24 hours. So keep that in mind. Had we not, that would have been our 3rd highest all time, superseding one of our previous Decembers. So.
What caused the derailment?
That's on their side. From what they told us, it was a high flange, thin flange on it. Picked a frog.
A lot of fun words. And it makes
So-
sense.
Did we get that go back in the cage?
I don't want to get into detail.
Did you say it picked a frog?
No, it was
You said it picked a frog?
picked a frog.
So it was TCU related.
There you go.
Yeah, that's speculation, not my railroad. I'm not going to speculate on that, but it sounds like it would be car related.
You know my statement after every time our staff continues to impress, which, they shouldn't surprise us because they're just amazing. But please express from this board, we understand stress testing a system when it's planned is not fun, but for them to handle 2 so amazingly in every department just continues to make me love being a board member on, such an amazing entity. And please, I don't know how to express that to all of our staff. I always am concerned with how do you get the very last person on the end of the train to hear the statement from this desk, but it's important. They did amazing stuff.
Absolutely, and I can tell you that I personally hand-delivered handwritten thank you notes to the ops side, to marketing, as well as customer care, so.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Any
Thank
questions?
everyone for that extraordinary effort. I don't know why that last month happened all at once, but, let's hope it doesn't happen ever. Yeah.
Hey, Dan, thank you for the
Same.
parking numbers. I
flew to DC a few weeks ago for National League of Cities, and I did my wife a favor I said, I'm going to experience the overnight parking at Iron Horse, and I did. Unfortunately, I came back on Tuesday, and I forgot till I was coming back that the train wasn't running that day. So not only did I get to experience the overnight parking at Iron Horse, I got to experience the link from Terminal B to Centerport to take TRE to Richland
That's
Hills.
wonderful.
And then my dear wife had to come pick me up, take me back to Iron Horse to pick up my truck.
There's your ridership, Anthony. All right, thank you.
Very much. Well done. Well, let's go into Wayne operations, if you don't mind.
I don't have any frog picking words or anything like that. Sorry, AJ. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Chairman. I did place on your desk a little package. Kind of looks like that you don't have to read all that. I'm going to give you a few words of what's going on, and then if you have any questions, we could talk about it. But what I have in front of you is just really about safety. Safety is important to all of us, as AJ always talks about. Same thing on the bus side, safety is extremely important. And when I look at the numbers, and these are the full year-to-date numbers for our safety results by each service line, I look at it, we're doing really pretty well, but as always, we always want to do better, right? So, and that's what I'm here to talk to you a little bit about. We're doing quite well in vehicle collisions, especially preventable. But what we want to do is something that relates to Heinrich Law, if anybody heard that. Some of you may have heard that, about 329 to 1. So for every 300 incidences, there are 29 minor type of issues, either collisions or injuries, which could lead to one major. We want to reduce those 300 incidences, unsafe acts in other words, so that we can reduce the 29 in the one. And we're going to focus our attention on that with our team. Some of the things you'll see with regards to that is increase safety messaging. We're going to increase some staffing, so we have a TRE safety manager, a TexRail safety manager, at least budgeted. And we're going to come to you this fall and ask for a safety manager for ops. We don't have one directly dedicated to ops or bus ops. Also, we're going to put an RFP out on the street for some consulting services so that we could get a system safety review and just see the overall state of affairs for safety within Trinity Metro bus operations. With that, we'll develop additional training programs from a safety standpoint to focus our employees on what's going on every day and what they could do to try to avoid those 300 unsafe acts. There are certain things you could see when you look at video, and it's very important. We're not looking at video to find somebody and to discipline them. We're looking at it to learn what you can do better in a certain circumstance. And that's what we're going to try to do and do learning moments, not only with our new hires, but with our existing employees, so that we can learn what should you do before you get to that point where there's a collision of some sort. So we're doing good. There's a lot of things we could focus our attention on. We're going to include safety blitzes. We have the Smith system training that we provide people with regards to getting the big picture, and we're going to give that additional training by utilizing video and improving our operations team's safety record, which is pretty good, but we want to make it better. Next slide you'll see is the Heinrich pyramid. Sometimes you see it this way, but anyways, it's just so you could take a review. Next, you have in your pamphlet a policy committee meeting, Automated Bus Consortium. This is an organization that we sat and talked to not too long ago and thought to ourselves, well, this is leading technology. This is where the industry's going. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but we want to be a part of that team to help make those decisions. And so we decided, and if you turn to the page 2 in your pamphlet, you'll see the different agencies that belong to this consortium. Here locally, DART, Houston Metro in Texas. You see the other DOT, Michigan DOT, and City of Detroit, and of course, New Jersey Transit, SunTran. We want to be part of this organization. It's about $100,000. This is about being at the leading edge of technology for bus. We don't know where it's going to really go, but we do believe it's an important step for Trinity Metro. We want to be forward-thinking and join this organization so we understand and we could be a part of developing the next generation of buses. So I just provided you that for some information. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Wayne, great presentation. I would just say, in our internal thinking, one of our greatest, and we believe this, is our greatest assets is our employees. They're exceptional. They provide great service. They greet the public with a friendly smile. So when we talk about automation, we're in no way right now contemplating displacing our workforce.
Right.
This is really about just being involved in what is an emerging part of our industry, being knowledgeable about it, and understanding its potential. So in the future, there may be applications of automated vehicles to solve last mile issues for us. For example, our fixed route system, no matter how much we invest, will just simply not connect every neighborhood in Fort Worth. So
Right.
in the future, there's the possibility of last mile service being provided through automation.
Right. Good point. Thank you.
And that's the same as automated bus consortium, the same kind of last mile, first mile?
It's all the same type of technology. And we are talking to first mile, last mile connection with regards to autonomous vehicles as well. So we're just looking at both. We want to be in that leadership group and understand where the technology is going. And by the way, there's a link that I could provide you where you could see a video. Everyone has an employee in the seat. So it isn't about eliminating jobs. It's really about where is the technology going, and do you want to be a part of that leading technology to the next level? Yes. Okay. All right, great. Thank you.
Marketing and communications. Hi.
Good afternoon. I'm Melissa Chrisman, Vice President of Marketing and Communications, and your report for activities in the month of March is in your packets. It's on pages 6 through 14. So just some highlights that I want to talk about really include some outstanding results from all of our ongoing paid ridership campaigns. AJ kind of alluded to it earlier, but TexRail ridership just really continues to be just very, very strong. Our team specifically is focusing a lot of our paid efforts on advertising for TexRail, and we like to think that our advertising dollars are an invitation to a cool party, and AJ's throwing a cool party with the service that they provide on that railroad, and we really are seeing it pay off. So our ridership last month was a 20% increase year over year. Not only was it a 20% increase in the fourth largest revenue service month, ridership was also 103% to our budgeted ridership projections for March. So just really outstanding results all around. Samples and highlights of that campaign can be seen on page 7. Also of note, on page 8, I'd like to point out that our advertisements promoting system-wide ridership as a whole, just really great numbers, so I wanted to make sure I brought it up, but those ads were seen just under 4 million times in March alone, so that's a lot of eyes getting that message and improving that brand awareness. On that same page, there's some outcomes of a TRE-specific campaign promoting ridership to events at the American Airlines Center. So just the payoff on those, system-wide ridership was up 16% in comparison to March 2022, and the same comparable period of ridership on TRE this year versus last year showed a 26% ridership increase. So everything that our teams are doing together is working to really get our ridership numbers back up. Looking ahead, I'm going to skip ahead to page 13 in your package, just because we've talked about it several months ago, and now we're kind of in the thick of it. But page 13 is an overview of partnerships and sponsorships. So across the top of the page, you can see how we partnered and sponsored events last month. And what I really want to take a look at is what is coming up ahead. So last week kicked off the Friday on the Green concert series in the near south side, of which Trinity Metro is the presenting sponsor. So our name is all over everything. We're also sponsoring the Jazz Wine Trains this month in Grapevine. And then, of course, everybody's seen Main Street is already closed off, as downtown prepares for the Downtown Fort Worth Arts Festival. Main Street Fort Worth Arts Festival. I have to get it right. It's a very long name. But we are a sponsor of that event too, so we will have a presence there when the art festival kicks off on Thursday. And also, I saw a couple today while I was downtown having lunch, but Molly the Trolley has decals on it promoting it as the shuttle to get around to the festivities during the festival for those 4 days. So be sure to look for that. Last but not least in the regular report is our March Easy Ride results. So we saw increases in ticket sales revenue month over month. Primarily, we saw that increase in sales of daily and weekly tickets. TCC and the City of Fort Worth programs both had ridership increases, and you can see the new Easy Ride partners at the top left portion of the page. So I do just want to do a shout out to Jashai High, Strategic Partnerships representative. She was just at Dash Network this morning, so one of our new Easy Ride participants doing a Transit 101 training session with them. So not only are we signing folks into the program, we're going back and giving them the tools that they need to actually use those transit benefits. So that includes my regular report. I will answer any questions.
I don't have a question, but I do want to point out that you and your team and these partnerships with these local events has been amazing. If anybody follows Near Southside or any of their leadership, every single one of them, including Near Southside's Instagram account itself, advertised Zip Zone and how to do it. And they had Near Southside staff posted up next to Zip Zone signs and bragging about how easy it was with links to every one of Melissa's ads and all of the process. So these partnerships, I mean, clearly the stats speak for themselves, but these entities feel like they are truly partners with us, and that's a testament to Melissa and her team and reaching out and constantly meeting with them.
Thank you, and most of the credit goes to Glenn Miller, Director of Marketing. He's the man behind the mask, making it all happen. I just get to come up and talk about it, but it's really his.
Well, thank you, Glenn. I take it back from Melissa. You
Yeah,
don't
take
get
it
any
back.
of it.
Take it back.
Glenn's the bomb.
Thank you so much.
I have 2 information items that I can just roll into. So on pages 15 through 27, you'll find the quarterly ridership task force update that's for Q2 of FY23. So if you recall, back in September, we convened a 30-day employee-led ridership task force, and this group was really tasked with developing tactics that could be implemented to increase ridership. So I'm not going to go through it all, but the task force members and the meeting dates are on page 17 in your packet. Just to highlight a few things that we've made progress on since we talked about this last. Tactic 3 on page 20, that is the GoPass See Say Now integration. We've went ahead and marked that project as complete. The link is available on the main screen of GoPass, so people who are using GoPass can report any potential safety or security issues that they see while they're out using the system. And our team's really worked hard with spreading the word about that, making sure people know how they can report any issues. And if I recall correctly, I'm hearing that there is more utilization of that app happening every time we hear the numbers, so that seems to be working well. Tactic 4 on page 7 is website upgrades. That is moving along very well as well. We have completed a customer survey with over 100 responses. Really, the whole idea is to better understand the user's experience with our current website. So our next steps will be to coordinate focus groups for those that have volunteered to provide additional feedback. Also, in conjunction with just general website upgrades, we are in the process of migrating to a new online ticket sales store. So this will allow for better flexibility and improved user experience and really just a better all purchasing process for customers when they're buying tickets online. Thank you, Laura Hanna, our Director of Communications. She's really managing everything associated with our website improvements. So I'm excited to be able to tell that we've made some progress on that tactic. We've also been working on Tactic 5 on page 22. We have formed a planning committee to make our schedule day come to fruition. We've had 2 meetings so far, and we have confirmed that our actual event will be scheduled for May 19th. And really, essentially, this is a really easy event. Our employees are going to go out in pairs, and we will have prospect lists for them, and it will be to visit businesses nearby our services. So businesses within a certain mile radius of Tex rail stations and different fixed routes that we've identified within the bus system. More than happy to have any board members come out if you're available and want to participate. Just give me a note and we'll get you set up with a team. And then finally, I just want to talk really quick about Tactic 8. Wayne's talked about this on numerous occasions. Chad's talked about this on numerous occasions. And obviously, this is kind of a longer-term project that's just kicking off this year. But in case you haven't seen it, there are prototype bus schedulers that have been installed in what Wayne and I are calling the Transit Improvement Corridor. And that's along Hemphill, just south of downtown. In that area, you can see samples of new shelters, new bus benches, new trash receptacles, new solar lighting. Some of these stops even have real-time digital displays, so you can see when your next bus is coming. We're working on collecting public feedback, and then, of course, we will put out a bid to hopefully, well, not hopefully, but to have a plan to address improvements at all of our bus stops over the next several years. And that is it for the Ridership Task Force. Keep going? Keep going. All right. The next one's short and sweet. The quarterly Easy Ride update. I'm presenting on behalf of Antonio this afternoon. So the report's really just outlining Easy Ride activities for January, February, and March. On page 30, you can see the growth of the program over the last several months. We've added 8 new organizations since the start of the calendar year and 20 new organizations since the start of the fiscal year. Total ticket sales have been increasing month over month, as you can see on pages 31 and 32. And I mentioned it during our regular report, but this is mostly due to increases in daily and weekly ticket sales. And that's because we've really been focusing a lot on not-for-profits purchasing tickets to give to their clients as they're doing the good work they do out in the community. On the last page, page 33, we are highlighting prospects that we anticipate will soon become Easy Ride partners, and in 3 months, I'll come back and provide you an update on those and hopefully be counting them amongst our next round of Easy Ride partners. And that concludes that report. Okay, thank you.
Thanks so much.
Dramatic pause.
I know. You ready? Okay. Good afternoon, board members. I'm Deetra Whitmore, Vice President of Community Engagement, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer. My report begins on page 35 in your packet. I want to highlight the great job our customer care reps are doing. Our customer calls are up over last month, but we are currently down 89% during this same time last year. About 65% of our calls are access scheduling, and that equates to about 15,000 calls, and 481 of those calls are in Spanish. Although the number of calls look pretty impressive, the important thing is how we handle those calls. The team attended a 2-day customer service workshop conducted by our customer relations manager, Tamika Grant, and our quality review manager, what's your name? Ferry Bright, and also myself. We talked about the importance of serving our customers and making sure we're taking care of them. Our team is fairly new, so it's important to get them to understand how important delivering exceptional customer service is, and also that the call center really is the heartbeat of this agency. Besides access calls, we also receive calls for bike sharing, our zip zones, TextRail and TRE, and all of the other services that we provide, along with ticket orders. We take online ticket orders. Also, we do travel training. We're getting calls for that, and guaranteed rides. And you probably ask, what's guaranteed rides? Well, that's a service that we provide when there is a hiccup in our system, like AJ the rail. When the bus bridges are working, but we have people that really need to get somewhere really quick, or if the last bus, there's something on our fixed route system that happens, we have a guaranteed ride home program for our customers to get them where they need to go. And that's of no charge to our customers, but they need to call customer care. So the team has been very busy. 30% of our customers, as you can see at the bottom of the page, did not have to wait on hold. So we want that number to be higher, right? So this is up over last month. The key is that When the number is higher, that means more people are actually calling in and getting a rep right away. They're not having to sit on hold. So we're going to continue to monitor that. On page 36, our valid complaints creeped up just a little bit, but in relation to the number of calls we get every day and every month, that's really a small amount, right? But you always hear me say one complaint is too many. So we are working with the team, the operations team, talking to them, working with the supervisors on how we can better serve our customers. What can we do to make that experience much better? So Ferry Bright does a great job in working with our operations supervisors. Moving to page 38. Our van pool team continues to work magic. We now have 189 van pools, and we welcome Bureau of Prisons. They're in Grand Prairie, Solar Turbines in DeSoto, and North Texas Healthcare Laundry and the VA Hospital. They are both in Arlington. We're also meeting with Saginaw ISD, JCPenney's in Alliance, and NFI Industries in Fort Worth. Next month, I will highlight where our van pools are for you because your graph is getting a little busy, we're growing. So I want to share with you where our van pools are coming from the Dallas County area and Tarrant County since we're now in Dallas County.
Real quick on van pools.
Yes.
The Downtown Chamber, Nettie Matthews is spearheading a new group to be a welcome to the community type. These are some leaders from various organizations. I think having her coordinate with you on van pool information for new employers coming to our area would be very beneficial. I just wanted to say that before I forgot.
Thank you. I talked to her already.
Okay, it's good.
Thanks, Ben. And on pages 39 and 40, requests for career day participation usually increases this time of the year from Fort Worth ISD, as well as travel training and transit one-on-one presentations to our community organizations. We also want to thank our awesome board members and staff for participating in Habitat Build this year. It was a treat. It's always a treat to help a deserving family, help to build a home of their dreams. And this is our third year participating, and it was just remarkable. The weather was nice, everything was great. Mr. Chairman, that's my report, but I do have one more thing, or a couple of things. AJ was a little humble. He is actually leading our efforts to plan our 40th anniversary. November 8th, we're going to be 40 years old. So he's leading that to plan this huge celebration that you all will be a part of. And that is my report.
One question. On page 36, on a no-show, what do we do when someone tells us the bus never showed up?
A no-show is really in the access area. So if a customer planned a trip and our driver goes to pick the customer up and the customer is not there, nowhere to be found, so they're deemed as a no-show. Okay. Yes. And then the customer will call and say they didn't get picked up. So we have ways of looking at to verify the validity of that.
The bus did not arrive.
Sometimes for the bus that doesn't arrive, it could be there was an issue on fixed route in the service where we didn't have a driver at the time, so that particular route didn't run or that time, and a customer could be waiting at the bus stop.
Deetra, just real quick, it's been a while, and I love all of your reports every month. How are we doing on our DEI efforts and the other half of your title?
Good question, Ben. Well, we will be celebrating our one-year anniversary as a DE&I council, June 29th. Our council met last week, and we want to start focusing on the goals that you all approved in our DE&I statement. The first goal being Trinity Metro's workplace culture will foster and celebrate all dimensions of diversity. 2, diversity of Trinity Metro staff at all job classification levels will reflect the community's demographics. 3, Trinity Metro will engage people who reflect the diversity of the community's region to shape decision-making policies and programs. And then the 4th one is Trinity Metro's procurement procedures will advance economic opportunities for businesses striving to do business with Trinity Metro. Our Senior Director of Procurement, Sherry Lee, and our DB Administrator, Sonia Harris, will take the lead on that one. So you've heard a lot about what we're doing now, the mentoring program that Kelly mentioned, Wayne mentioned, the training of our team, making sure we're in the know of what's happening in our industry. So those are some of the things that we're already working on. And Kelly also, her team will be looking at a third-party option of conducting another survey. We had a survey that we did at the beginning of our process, and so now we want to know what our employees are thinking now. How are we doing to make sure that, based on what they're asking for, we're actually following through on that? It's all about let's not talk about it, let's be about it, right? And also, we are part of APTA's racial equity pilot program. So I will be attending the APTA conference next week, moderating a DE&I panel. So that's great. So, and it's called Getting Equity Assessment Right, Ensuring Impactful Outcomes for the Underserved and Underrepresented on Their Needs. And we want to be intentional about what we're doing. So I hope to get to learn about what other transit agencies are doing.
That's awesome.
And that's my report.
If there's anything that this board can do in support of those efforts, of course, reach out to us. Y'all have done so much in the first year. I know some of the committees actually in the room, some standing in the back talking to other people and ignoring us. You can't even call them out. It's not fun. But no, we really appreciate what y'all are doing. And if there's stuff we can do to support that, please let us know.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. You're welcome.
Okay, I guess we can go right into strategy, planning, and development. Chad?
All right. Well, thank you very much. So I have a few items in my report, but before I get into those, I wanted to introduce two promoted people that we have. Ngobo Mombe and LaMonica McLaughlin. Sorry, I know I was going to mess that one up. Ngobo and LaMonica are two new service planners in our planning team. So if you remember Sandip Sen, he left and went to San Antonio. We had to replace him with two smarter people than Sandip. So both of these folks come from operations. Ngobo was a bus operator since 2014, and LaMonica was an access supervisor since 2016. So we're super excited on the service planning side to have their experience to help us out to make sure that we don't miss anything as we go forward. So if you would help me welcome them. And you can tell they really hate doing this, so I appreciate them coming and doing this.
Do they want to talk to us?
Oh, that's the chairman's prerogative, I think. No? Okay. Anyway, thank you very much. I appreciate that and allowing me to present them. So I have a couple other notes very quickly. Last month, we had 582,516 rides total on Trinity Metro. That was 16% increase year over year, so not bad for us. TexRail had 52,821. You heard several of us talk about that, so I won't get into that too much. ZipZone had 13,489 rides. It's still hard for me to say this, but 125% increase in ridership. So there's some things there on new service and whatnot that occurs over time, but I'll still claim the 125. And bus, we had 337,849 rides, which is a 15% increase year over year for us and a 23% month over month. So very good numbers for us. Earlier in the month, Wayne and our chairman, Jeff Davis, went to Oklahoma City for a Community Streetcar Coalition Summit. I was there too. I thought that was a given, Wayne. And so it was a great time there. Wayne and I actually drove up there and back together and didn't kill each other, so that was awesome. We were very excited about that. We have come up with all sorts of ideas for the agency. We'll see how those actually get implemented over time. But it was a really great summit with locations across the nation that have thought about starting a streetcar, have already started a streetcar system, are well into a streetcar system, and so can provide lessons learned to us and how we could do that. There were ownership options identified as either, a separate entity, the city, the transit authority, lots of different pros and cons for each of those. Funding options obviously was something that was considered and discussed at that point. Future expansion, does that need to be identified early on? Should that be waited on and identified later? What kind of studies are actually necessary? What's the purpose of the streetcar? Is it to move people? Is it transit purpose? Is it an economic development tool? And they really vary across the country as well. And then FTA representative was there, a gentleman named Pete Mazurik, who's in the Capital Investment Grant Program, and I was able to get a little time with him to talk to him about our text rail extension and future vehicle procurements, things like that. Just an opportunity for us while he's there. He's kind of cornered. He was kind of voluntold that he would have office hours, if you will. And so a lot of us took advantage of that opportunity. So it was great for us on that. Another note is, since it was in Oklahoma City, Mayor Mick Cornett, who's a former Oklahoma City mayor there, he was kind of instrumental in the streetcar development there in the city. And it came from the city side saying that this is something that we need. We were losing a lot. They were losing a lot, I should say, of talent. People would go to OU and then they would leave. Norman's just right there next to Oklahoma City. And so the city leaders really had to figure out a way to kind of generate an interest in the city again on trying to keep the talent, keep the people, keep businesses there. And the streetcar was one of those options. And it has done a lot of great things there in Oklahoma City. We had the opportunity, I think the chairman was able to talk to the mayor, and we offered if he would mind coming down to Fort Worth and talking to us about how he did it up there. And he's, sure, just tell me when. So that's something that we're going to have to work out. And how do we bring him to Fort Worth to actually have that conversation, and to whom as well? Let's see, a couple of other items very quickly. We're working on system expansion as far as zip zones. We have a meeting later this week with the city of Forest Hill, and then an upcoming meeting with Mansfield very soon. So those two cities are very interested in zip zone. We had a productive meeting this morning with the city of Fort Worth on their participation, with TPW, with their participation on the bus stop improvement program. Ideally, the city would go in and put in the flat work or the concrete work for our shelters and benches. And so we're working with them on that as far as permitting and locations and design and things like that. And then Friday was the close of the solicitation for the text rail final designer. So that closed. We got 4 solicitations, so that's good for us to work through in a very short amount of time. And then the RFP for the pre-construction services for text rail will go out soon as well. All right, so that's all the stuff that's not on your agenda. The other parts, as I get into, if there's not any questions on that, I have 2 items that I'll talk about, and then I'll pass it off to Steve Montgomery to talk about the legislative items. On page 41 is a general planning consultant update. Again, this is just a monthly report on where we are with the general planning consultant contract. There's been a little bit of movement. We've had some work kickoff meeting on the review of the A Better Connection, the bus route reorganization. We've had a kickoff meeting on the double track work for TRE, and we've also kicked off some work with a text rail before and after study ridership review as well. I can go into more detail ad nauseum if you want on the GPC.
Simple question.
Yes, sir.
As part of that review of ABC, is that where we're considering downsizing certain routes?
It's a complete review of all of the routes that we have. Are they performing properly or not? Which might include a recommendation at some point on reduction or removal, just depending on how they're performing. But then that'll, obviously all this will kick in, and we'll have a Title VI review and things like that, so that, we just can't take something away. We're going to have to do some analysis on that. All right. The next item on page 43 is an information item on Trinity Lake Station. And so this is one of those hard items that staff doesn't necessarily like to bring to the board, but felt it was necessary due to the current situation. As you know, Trinity Lake Station is along the TRE corridor. It eventually will replace the Richland Hill Station. That is just about less than a mile west of the Trinity Lake Station. Trinity Metro selected Austin Bridge and Road to do the platform work, and then Trinity Metro had also agreed to do the parking lot, the 500 space parking lots. There's two pieces of that. And then the developer was going to do the access road from Trinity Boulevard up to the station, since it's, a considerable distance from the platform parking lots and Trinity Boulevard, excuse me. So we have been working, and Richie Thompson, chief engineer, and Pablo Hernandez, our deputy engineer there, have both been working very diligently of trying to work with the developer and their representatives to get the information that we need for the parking lot designs. There was an agreement many months ago when, even before Rich was here, when Paul was still here with the developer, that there wouldn't be a problem. We would get that stuff to you. And so you can tell how long that's been now, as Rich has been here now 9 months. And so we've been trying to get that information, and just last week we were able to get it. So after the writing of this and the publishing of this report, we were able to get that information. I'll let you fill in the blanks on that. So we have received that, and Richie has taken a look at it and is sufficient for what we need so that we can send out an invitation for bid to get the contractor on board for us to actually build the parking lots that we need. Now that still leaves the access road that we still need. There's a meeting that's being set up between the city, the developer, Trinity Metro, Council of Governments, and probably several other people on trying to get that access road coordinated so that it opens at the same time that we open. We're still shooting for October. However, we anticipate, and this is partly why I'm here today in April, to tell you that if it doesn't open in October, you heard it back in April that it might not open in October. So we're pushing as hard as we can to continue that date, but don't be surprised if it doesn't open in October. So the city is very concerned about making sure that the roadway opens in time. None of us want to look bad, and we don't want to get out to the media or others that Trinity Metro didn't provide or perform properly, because we're done, right? We're moving along, we're on schedule, and there's not a problem. So we're just trying to be upfront and transparent with the board on where we are on this. What we're doing, the chairman has been a big help recently, talking to the developer on trying to get the information that we need. And so thank you for that. We appreciate that. I guess I'll answer any questions that you might have.
How about Richland Hills? Are we okay? As long as we
We're okay with Richland Hills. Richland Hills has come to us recently and trying to figure out, they're trying to start their planning process on what happens to the station after. And because that property is owned by us, they're trying to figure out, they just don't want us to sell it to just some random group because they have some ideas and some plans on what could go there. So we want to make sure that we're working with them. So it's not a problem right now with the city of Richland Hills for us to not open. Obviously, they'd like to move on with their lives as well, but it's not a problem at this point in time.
Yeah, the developers can always be a member of the board and they're responsible to me, but he's having trouble with the city. And I want to give credit to the real estate council. I brought this to their attention front and center. They created a meeting very quickly with all the parties. The city's very interested in terms of we are. And they will engage all that meeting, and I'm not sure this week sometime they're supposed to get together because there's an unusual floodplain issue that the city isn't able to come to grips with what needs to be done. And we just need to get the parties together and get them to make some decisions.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Steve will come up and do the legislative update. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Pleased to be able to address the board today. I don't have a cool pyramid like Wayne, but I do have an on-brand tie for Trinity Metro. So I bring you news from our state capitol in Austin. We're at the 100th day of the 140th regular session. So for you Aggies, that means we have 40 days left. Not that I'm counting. Before we adjourn, sine die on May 31st. So the House and the Senate continue to work at a furious pace. Unfortunately, sometimes that fury is directed at each other. On several really very important and defining issues of the session, like property tax, education funding, each chamber is taking an approach that is distinctly incompatible with what the other is taking. And so this requires, rather than a middle-of-the-road compromise, it's going to require someone to have a face-saving stand-down from their current position. And further, the leadership of neither end of the building appears to be willing to swerve to avoid this collision. So, some of this is your typical end-of-session or maximizing their end-of-session compromise on deal-making abilities. And truly, at this point, there's still time to work out some of these differences. But in the many sessions that I've followed, I've honestly never seen this level of bicameral acrimony. And truly, it's just short of inappropriate hand gestures across the Capitol Rotunda. It's really bad. So what does this mean for the process and for Trinity Metro? For the process, the work continues apace. There are hints of things beginning to gum up. Bill referrals to committee are kind of behind normal pace. And there's signs of, your typical hostage taking on important issues for each chamber. But the process is chugging forward. The state budget has cleared the House, and just about 2 hours ago, it cleared the Senate floor. So we'll go to conference on the budget in the next couple weeks. And as they say, those of you who have watched the legislature, there's really only one bill that has to pass every session, and that's the budget. And as they say, everything else is poetry. For Trinity Metro and the transit world in general, the process slowdowns have positive and negative consequences. With each passing legislative day, bills we might have concerns about become less viable. But the same is true for the ones that we would like to see passed. Currently, we're tracking about 85 items on our tracking list. Of those 85, 40 have seen some sort of action, such as being heard in committee. 17 of those have been left pending committee, and 16 have moved out of committee, been voted out. And 7 of them are scheduled for hearing this week. So activity is really picking up. In fact, I just looked at a note that said there are 550 bills in committee this week. So there's quite a lot of activity. But I want to highlight a couple for you today. House Bill 3899 relates to the issuance of bonds by certain local governmental corporations. And this is specific to Austin and their successful Project Connect referendum they had in 2020. As you may know, Project Connect is a significant transit-related project that voters in Austin approved that expands transit and light rail in the greater Austin area. This bill essentially revisits the issue by requiring the local government corporation to go back to voters for approval before issuing any of the debt that the referendum authorized in 2020. Again, this bill is specifically bracketed only for Austin, but it really sets a bad precedent that could be harmful to other transit projects and infrastructure projects across the state. Given those implications, Trinity Metro registered our opposition to the bill, as did the chambers, as did many of the other cities and business groups around the state. The bill was left pending in committee and has been sitting there for a couple of weeks, but as I mentioned to some of my colleagues, I was somewhat surprised by the vocal support that it received in committee. So we'll continue to watch it. Ultimately, this debate will be instructive for us as we or you decide to pursue any type similar referendum locally. So more to come on that. Another bill, House Bill 2127, is a bill I spoke to last time, and it relates to a state pre-exemption for certain municipal and county regulations in several areas of the law. Again, it does not directly impact Trinity Metro, but several of our friends at the city and allies at the city level are very concerned about the bill. The city of Fort Worth, to its credit, has offered several amendments to make the bill more palatable to local jurisdictions, and kudos to our mayor for leading the way on this, particularly in the area of public safety, and the bill sponsor has signaled a willingness to accept these amendments. We haven't seen those amendments on the bill yet, and it's scheduled to begin debate tomorrow, so we're hoping some floor amendments get put on that bill. HJR 77 proposes a constitutional amendment to permit additional uses of funds that are placed in the state highway fund, one of which would be public transportation, in addition to bicycle paths and sidewalks. The bill was heard in committee last week and was left pending. We wouldn't be necessarily guaranteed funding out of this source, but it would be a source for us to go to in the future if it were to pass. A couple more.
Steve, what was that bill number again?
HJR 77. Senate Bill 505 imposes an additional fee for electric vehicles. It's in lieu of gas taxes that help fund our transportation projects. Right now, we are bracketed out of it due to some weight restrictions. It's any vehicle under 10,000 pounds, so our dash buses wouldn't fall under this category. Sorry, Jeff, your car would. It was approved on the Senate floor last week, and it's got momentum. I think it's gonna probably move. And finally, to highlight House Bill 5184, and this is our procurement bill that Trinity Metro is pursuing. We're still awaiting a committee hearing. I'm hopeful for next week. I've been in constant contact with Representative Romero's office and the committee clerk in the House Transportation Committee. I'm now transitioning from begging to groveling. That's what I do. So I'm very hopeful, though, they will get a hearing next week. Before I leave you, I have a couple of last items, a federal item, a couple items I want to highlight for you. We have submitted requests for 2 federal community project funding fund requests, also called earmarks. We had $3 million for TexRail vehicle storage capacity at our Mahaffey Maintenance Center in North Fort Worth. We proposed this to Congresswoman Kay Granger. We garnered letters of support from several local officials, including Mayor Parker, Mayor Tate, Mayor Trevino, and Councilman Rodriguez. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. However, we weren't successful with this request, but we really appreciated the work of the chairwoman and her staff that worked with us and really took a hard look at that request. A second one we had was $1.6 million to build a mobility hub southern terminus in southeast Fort Worth for our high-intensity bus project. Again, we proposed to Congressman Mark Vesey. We received strong support from Mayor Parker as well as Councilman Nettles. Appreciate your letter of support. And we were successful with this one. The congressman has submitted our proposal to the House Appropriations Committee for hopeful possible inclusion in the FY24 transportation budget. Still a long way to go before final congressional approval or the president's signature, but clearly this is an important first step. And last, I'll leave you with a reminder that local elections are May 6th. Early voting is April 24th through May 2nd. Please vote. Any questions?
Would it be possible to receive that report in writing? You throw out a lot of great stuff, and I just want to make sure that I'm quoting things correctly as I have an opportunity to quote them. And we both know if I shoot from the hip, it's 50-50. So
absolutely. I'll email it to you.
Thank you.
And also have an updated bill tracking list.
I love it. It really helps from our side of if people trying to have intelligent conversations about where they need to support us. I want to make sure we're doing it.
Happy to do it. Thank you.
No questions?
Thank you.
All right, Kristen.
Hello, how are you? I'm Kristen Kosla, Controller. I'll be presenting the financials today. I'd like to direct you to pages 46 through 48 of the board package. Overall, the balance sheet remains strong, including our cash position. And we can move on to the income statement on page 47. Total revenues are $90 million year to date. That's $35 million higher than budgeted, primarily due to three reasons. One is the ARP assistance we received in the current year, but it was budgeted last year for $33 million, as well as sales tax collections continue to be favorable. Collections are up 11% over last fiscal year and $1 million over budget this year, which equates to $45 million in sales tax revenue. Our third reason is the Grapevine contribution is up as well at $5.5 million.
Tito? 50% of that comes from NRH residents, so.
Yes, yes. Thank you both. And that's 10% over last year, $618,000 higher than budgeted. Overall, operating expenses are $52 million, which is $4.7 million favorable compared to this year's budget. This is substantially due to savings in fuel costs and our open positions across all business units. This results in operating income year-to-date of $38 million. On page 48, you will find more detailed notes or explanations if you'd like to read those. As far as finance updates go, we're still waist high in the annual budget process. I'm looking forward to getting through that. We also officially received FY22 split letter for about $37 million in formula allocation. That concludes my presentation of February's financials. Any questions?
So Rich, what are we going to do with our surplus here?
Well, yeah, we are looking at our long-range financial plan, and many of those resources are already committed to future initiatives. So we can get into that at a future meeting if you'd like.
Yeah, that'd be great. And that 33 million or 34 million was supposed to be here last year. It looks really nice this year on the income statement.
Right. Yeah, the way our accounting works here is that the revenues are, I guess for lack of a better word, fungible. We get revenues that come in and we have a choice on whether to allocate them to operating expenses or capital. And so with the fact that we're building out our Tex Rail extension, going to require additional rail cars, a facility expansion, other initiatives, a lot of those dollars are already spoken for. We can go through that at a future meeting.
Yeah, we're good.
Well, thank you for pinch hitting today and stepping up to all of it. And I know we're not the funnest crowd to present in front of, especially if you're last minute notice. So thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Kristen, I have a question, and I don't know, it's probably Kristen and Kelly, Kristen, but I heard you say that a lot of, a significant portion of reason for being under budget is open positions.
Right.
I'm just curious about like what percentage of that, and are these positions that we're actively hiring for? And then what are the implications to this huge surplus that Nick just referenced? Once those positions are filled, what's the correlation between budget and open position?
On page 47, under the operating expenses, if you look at salaries and fringe benefits, you can see by each business unit the implication there, above or below budget. I can't speak to headcount per se. Kelly might be able to speak to that, but the implications there are much smaller than the fuel cost. That's had the most significant surplus to our surplus has been the fuel cost. The open positions, Kelly, you want to say anything else about that?
Yeah, we've got about 14 staff positions open right now that we're currently sourcing for, and that's pretty normal for our bus. I don't want to change that. Right now, our budgeted headcount is 274. We're at 256, I think, and our next class is about 27 people. So we're so close to being our budgeted headcount. I don't want to change this. I know that, yeah, we're very excited to be back, but pretty excited about that, so we're heading that way.
Most of it is in G&A. You can see on page 47, that's the bulk, just 335,000 of the surplus there, so.
Yeah, we really probably should change the word in the budget report. Surplus is probably not the best term for it. If you look at our 5-year plan, you'll see that we are very close to the edge in terms of making budget, given all the outstanding commitments. So let's go back and do a sort of a 5-year look and then give you what that picture looks like. Because remember, capital spend is not even, right? Capital spend is lumpy. So you have times when you're spending a lot more than you have coming in. Is that a technical term? Yeah. Lumpy? Yeah.
I think we need to yield to the controller. Is lumpy a real word?
Part of the CPA exam, what do you think?
That's right.
Any other questions for Kristen?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You don't look like Bruce.
No, Bruce doesn't have it.
Okay.
No update?
Oh, we're going right to action items.
All right. Good afternoon. Thank you, Chairman. And I'm here to talk about, on page 49, Board Action Item BA 2023-26. I'll be very brief with these board actions. Overall, you might recall that we received a grant last year for bus and Fort Worth Central Station for $1.5 million. We have some 25 projects that we would like to get accomplished. We put an RFP out on the street with regards to a general contractor to get skilled tradesmen. That's what we got here. We met all the procurement activities that are necessary and we followed the procurement policies and procedures. From a financing standpoint, it's in the budget, in our capital budget for FY 2023, and therefore the Trinity Metro Board of Directors authorized the President and Chief Executive Officer to enter into a 3-year contract with 2 one-year option renewals with Mart Inc. for $12,500,000 plus 15% contingency, or $1.875 million contingency for unforeseen expenses, for a total amount not to exceed $14,375,000. Is there any questions with regards to that at board action? All right. Okay. Then I'll move on to board action on page 50, BA 2023-27. to Metro Area Transit Corporation, interlocal agreement with Fort Worth Transit Authority. Now, we've talked several months in a row now with regards to MATS, or Metro Area Transit Authority, transit system. And we've given notice to RAPDEV. I'll give you one little update. We've had all-hands meetings. We talked to the supervisors. They all went well. We actually had some great questions from our employees. We're going to circle back and give them a couple more written answers, but they were all very good, and everybody seems to be happy with what our conversations were all about. This is about getting to the agreement of what the day-to-day operations will look like. There is an agreement between both parties that is attached to the board action with regards to financing. The fiscal year, it is all the expenses for the service are in the FY23 budget and will be budgeted as we go forward in fiscal year 24 and out. So our recommendation is therefore the Trinity Metro Board of Directors authorizes the President and Chief Executive Officer to enter into an attached agreement with MATS providing day-to-day operating services as outlined in the agreement. Is there any questions there?
Any questions?
Okay. Turning to page 71, we have item number B2023, should be BA 2023-28, and it's mobility on demand zip zone contracted services. It's a renewal, the last year of the contract. It is the last year of the pilot contract with River North Transit LLC. Just as an FYI, we will be going to bid on this contract. However, this is the last year. If you might recall, we went back to you last November to increase the board-approved amount because we were going to exceed it in the upcoming year. We did so. You approved it. From a standpoint of financing, all the funds are in the FY 2023 budget and will be in the FY 2024 budget that we'll present on a go-forward basis. And for the recommendation, therefore, Trinity Metro Board of Directors authorize the President and Chief Executive Officer to approve the final year of the 5-year agreement with River North Transit VIA for mobility on demand zip zone services. The contract will begin June 1st, 2023, and will expire May 31st, 2024. Any questions? That should be it.
If I could ask you, Wayne, go back to BA 2023-26.
Uh-huh.
If I'm reading this correctly, it says, this general contractor will expedite the completion of $1,500,000 in grant-funded projects. Is that correct?
Well, we have a grant for $1.5 million. We have projects that are identified already for HRP and Fort Worth Central Station. And by getting a general contractor versus waiting for when our people can get around to doing some of these projects, they have the expertise, and that's what it'll be used for, that grant money.
So go down to the recommendation then. We're going to pay $1,875,000 for a 2-year contract for him to oversee our capital projects?
So, no, this is, the total package is $14,375,000. We're asking for a contingency of
$14 million.
Yep.
And so what is the total amount of our capital projects?
So that's anticipated projects over the life of the contract. So we don't have them all identified and priced out yet. That is an estimate that our facilities team came up with regards to what projects that need to be done for state of good repair. The projects that we have identified up top for the $1.5 million, I wanted to remind you all about the fact that we did get a grant for $1.5 million, and that's the first projects we're going to work on. We'll continue to refine the list. We'll come back to you and tell you what projects we have in our capital budgets each year that will eventually might add up to $14.375 million. But that's just an estimate that we have right now with not really getting into, the nitty-gritty of the projects.
So we have an estimate of $5 million in capital projects?
No.
15 million over 5 years.
Right.
15 million.
Over 5 years. So roughly $3 million of work that will take place.
But we don't know where the $9 million capital projects will be. We've identified $5 million worth.
For example, we need work on all of our buildings. They're aging, obviously, and we need to start, we picked out the most important ones first, like bathrooms for our employees that are in need of repair, right? So we have estimates for it. That's part of the $1.5 million in the grant that we have in grant money that we're going to utilize. The rest of the projects are projects that we have over the term of this agreement that aren't finalized in pricing, but is our estimate at this point in time.
These are projects that are of such a nature that it would be inefficient for us to procure them as small individual projects, but think of it more as a program. So over a 5-year period, this vendor will help us implement smaller scale initiatives. It could be concrete work, it could be painting, it could be lighting, it could be whatever needs we may identify in a given year. It's a different way to handle it, more sort of, in a larger organization such as the ones I've come from, we would have in-house employees that do these kinds of activities. But given our scope and size, we're reaching out for third-party assistance.
Well, Rich, I'm just trying to get a framework here. If someone asked me how much work, how many dollars this contractor will actually be supervising, and I don't have an answer yet.
And Wayne, what this does, it keeps you from coming back every time you have a project, right?
Exactly. So it's approximately $3 million a year over the next 5 years.
It's maybe to your point, Charles, some of this work is self-performed by the general contractor, and some of this work might be given to a subcontractor hired by the general contractor. And it's not possible for us to identify what portion of the work will go to the prime versus the sub.
Okay. Thank you.
Just to follow up, I hate to do this, ask more questions because you didn't have a DBE line on the board action item. Is there a DBE item that we've asked MART to attempt to achieve for their subcontractor inclusion for the things that they can't self-perform?
Yeah. The person that bid is saying yes. What, can you tell us?
Oh, fantastic.
20%.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you, Wayne.
Thanks.
Kelly?
Okay, if you'll turn to page 73 in your packets, I'll go over BA 2023-29, Financial Audit and Review Services. Trinity Metro is required to have an annual audit on their financial and operating processes, 401k benefit plan, and the payment card industry, PCI standards. The RFP received 4 responses that were responsive and responsible, and out of those 4, we chose to award the 2 highest-rated firms, which is Weaver and Tidwell and Whitley Penn. Those are the same firms that we used last year on our audit. Funds are available in our operating budget. Therefore, the Evaluation Committee recommends Trinity Metro's Board of Directors authorize the President CEO to contract with Weaver and Tidwell and Whitley Penn for a 3-year term with the option to renew for 2 additional 1-year terms. Total cost over the 5 years, including a 10% contingency, is not to exceed $871,000.
So Kelly, how will you decide whether this particular thing is for Weaver, Tidwell, or the others are with them?
Which one they use, it depends. I think usually, and I'd probably have to refer to Kristen more so, but Weaver and Tidwell usually does the financial audit, correct? And then Weaver does they do the 401k for sure, and I'm not sure who does the PCI.
I think that's Weaver.
Is it Weaver as well?
They are the ones that I think that we might be replacing.
Okay, switching.
Their pricing was quite high for the PCI.
What do we get charged for the financial audit? You know? Less than 100?
Yes, I believe so. That's what they were all voted to.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay, I believe.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Board Action Item BA 2023-30, Insurance Broker Services. So recently, a request for proposal for insurance broker services was issued and advertised, and this for coverage. It's a broker for coverages that could include liability, property, casualty, cyber, and other general coverages that are not otherwise provided or maybe even economically available from the Texas Municipal League. And we had 4 firms that actually complied with the requirements. And as you can see there, the evaluation committee reviewed those 4, and a request, and Higginbotham Insurance Company was selected as the highest qualified firm for entering into this contract award. The procurement department has followed its procurement policies and procedures. The DB, since you had asked that, so it is on here, the solicitation was 0 due to the nature of the placement of insurance, as you're aware. And finances, this is just to select the brokerage. All of the insurance broker contract will be included in the Trinity Metro's annual operating budget each year. So our recommendation is that the Trinity Metro's Board of Directors authorize the President, Chief Executive Officer to contract with Higginbotham Insurance Agency to assist Trinity Metro with the placement of third-party insurance and execute a 3-year contract with 2 one-year contract renewal options. Are there any questions?
I see none. Thank you, AJ. With regard to action items 1 through 5, BA 2023-26 through 30, is there a motion to approve all of the action items?
Motion. Second.
Motion and a second?
And
a third.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. We have a resolution before us, but Andy Taft could not make it today. He can make that presentation at a subsequent meeting. And we have a president's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members, Trinity Metro staff, and members of the public. I always prepare these remarks, and then I always pick up on sort of additional points in the meeting. So I'll just mention that a theme that sort of emerges today for me is a culture of learning here at Trinity Metro. We had our mentoring program. We talked about a trip to learn more about streetcars. We heard Wayne talk about automated bus. And I think that's one of our competitive advantages here at Trinity Metro is that we do have a culture of learning and interest in new ideas. You've heard me talk about the excellent progress we are making in building trust and relationships with our community. Today, I would like to update you on the progress we are making to reach our goals on ridership and service quality. So, you heard Chad talk about our ridership. I think it bears repeating. In March, we saw 582,000 riders using Trinity Metro services, and that was a gain of 16% over the same month a year earlier. It's our best March since 2019, maintaining our consistent growth trend since COVID. Riders are responding to frequent, safe, clean, reliable service, with TexRail continuing to lead the way at 24% year-over-year growth. And between TexRail and TRE, rail riders are now approaching 1 in 3 riders at Trinity Metro, which is really stunning given rail riders were a relatively small number years ago. We just completed an RFP to replace every bus seat in the system. This will greatly improve the onboard customer experience. The program will include cleanliness and comfort, and we will seek board approval for that contract next month. We continue to make progress on our bus shelters. The first prototype shelters are installed on Hemphill Street. And next week, customers will have an opportunity to provide feedback, and an RFP for the bus shelters program will be advertised next month. The new shelters will feature glass for enhanced security, provide lighting, and real-time information at the busiest bus stops. We are also using technology to streamline operations and improve communication with customers. Our new single sign-on for bus operators allows them to sign into their vehicle, activate head signs, fare box, vehicle systems with one entry. This includes real-time bus location information now available in GoPass. By the way, I use this service all the time when I head to a meeting or grab lunch. I can take my time finishing a meal, knowing exactly how long it'll take before the next bus arrives. And while we faced some challenges on TexRail over the last few weeks, that you heard those from AJ today, we are working to close those system vulnerabilities by building new redundancy into the system. You heard a little bit about that, but that redundancy approach goes much deeper. AJ and Bruce and their teams have been working hard to layer in new data lines, harden IT infrastructure, eliminate single points of failure. We're not by any means finished. What you heard today was an update on the connectivity part of it, but there's many other aspects of redundancy and reliability that we're tackling. And our goal is to make TexRail the most reliable rail service in the nation. And while our day-to-day focus is on providing great service, we're continuing to think and act strategically for the future of Trinity Metro. Last week, we had an opportunity to gather in Grapevine with our counterparts from DART and DCTA. Nadine Lee and Paul Christina were there along with their leadership teams as well as our own. And more than 30 senior leaders from all three agencies had an occasion to be social and connect on a personal level. Many of us were meeting for the first time, and there was a sense of optimism and partnership about working together going forward. Mr. Chairman, this concludes my remarks.
Really good things. It's really important, that relationship that we have now between the agencies. I'm really appreciative of those efforts. Any comments? On the chair's report, I want to wish Fred. He resigned this morning, and I want to wish him the best. I know we all in this room wish him the best. If you see him or talk to him in the near future, just tell him we're thinking about him and hoping that he does well. The other thing I want to talk about is that Mayor Cornett comments at the Oklahoma Streetcar Conference. Oklahoma is much like Oklahoma City is a lot like Fort Worth, very conservative leadership. And the mayor, and they've gone from 28th to 20th in population. It's a remarkable story about a conscious effort to build, densify their downtown area, and it's been very successful because of a conscious, intentional goal setting. What the mayor said, though, I thought, we do lots of things here, and one of the things we do encourage is economic development. And in his short speech, Mayor Cornett indicated if you want economic development in a community, you build a city where your children and your grandchildren want to be. It's as simple as that. And I think that's what we're trying to do here in Trinity Metro and in Fort Worth and surrounding communities is build a community where our children want to be. So keep that in mind, big picture. You know, my kids live in Austin and Brooklyn, and I want to bring them back. So let's keep moving forward. Is there any other business to come before the board? We do not have an executive session.
Paul for his info sheet.
You want to comment on that, Paul?
Yeah, sure I can. I'll keep you here a few more minutes. Because I'm sure Ben's going to talk a little longer after. This is just a brief snapshot of the TOD in Grapevine. I mean, it goes from 2018, to current, and it's, the TOD is just in its infancy. But you look at, over 200 jobs created. Just this past year, Grapevine, Maine hosted over 481 public events. 2022, 472,000 visitors to Grapevine, Maine. And then, if you look at the back, it's not so much just about Grapevine, Maine being successful, but it's everybody in the area. When you look at economic impact, average growth in sales tax since 2020, 5-minute walk from Grapevine, Maine, almost 40%. That's your dress shops, that's your restaurants, that's your mom and pops, that's your merchants. 10-minute walk, just over 30% sales tax growth since 2020. I mean, and we're just getting started. But you see it. People question doing it as big as we did it. They thought we were going to take business away, but we're actually bringing business in, and it's expanding. So there's just a little bit of information.
It's kind of like Mayor Tate, dream and dream big. and look what happened. Do you want equal time, Tito?
And I was going to just say that, Paul and I always tease each other about I always tell him that he always thanks me for the tax dollars. And I said, my residents love hopping on Tex Rail, going to Grapevine, getting crazy and silly, coming back to a nice, safe, secure community. But anyway, it is and people always say, well, aren't you jealous of what Grapevine's getting, what Holmes City's doing? You know what? It's good for them because you know what? It's great for our region. And so the fact that my residents love going up there and having a great time is great. I was telling Paul earlier that our oldest granddaughter's a CPA, and tomorrow's tax deadline, so she wants to celebrate. So about 20 of us are hopping on the train and going to Grapevine to the Hotel Vin to Harvest Hall to help her celebrate. So it's a great compliment to our entire region, what they've done. And so thank you, Paul.
And we'll keep you safe while you're there as well.
I know the police chief.
Thank you all. If there's no further business to come before the board, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.